Hello, Googans. We've traded up big time. Drew is soft as Charmin, or sick possibly, but I like to think that he's just squeezably soft and is not with us today. But I found a pretty reasonable upgrade in last minute fill-in with my friend Lauren Brooks.
Maybe Drew's just really upset about his Seminoles.
We're all upset. This was a dreadful weekend.
It was a bad weekend.
Yeah, for everybody except Georgia fans. Good for you guys. You guys had a great weekend. But everybody else.
At least Florida didn't embarrass themselves. Yes,
right.
The turnovers weren't great against Georgia, but there was no embarrassing loss. For Florida State, that was an embarrassment.
That was awful. We talked about this in the Top 5 at 8. Shirtless guy in the back row was all of us, but really was. He encapsulated Noel Nation on Saturday as FSU got just obliterated by Clemson. And Willie Taggart's right. Some of his guys quit.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess there's no beach in Tallahassee, so therefore, if you want to get some sun and read a book, you just go
shirtless at the FSU game. Yeah,
that works too. But
if you're in the last room, there's plenty of good rays back there. You can get a good tone, and there's nothing to watch on the field.
We've all been through seasons where our team isn't very good, and at times, certainly around here, the Jaguars have gone through a lot of seasons like that. But the worst possible thing when your team is losing is to think that they quit on each other.
Right.
And, of course, then that means on the fan base. You get so excited distracted by the printer back there.
Printer's here.
You get so excited for football season. So excited, right? All spring and summer long. And then to have it just all fade away this quickly under a new head coach, that's really tough.
It hurts because remember, leading into the football season,
you have to yell over the printer.
You have to yell over the printer. The best part about the printer is, too, that means there's going to be an unexpected after-drill cameo by a member of the 10-XL staff. Who could it be? Would it be Chad Scott? Could it be Blaine Kirk? Who knows?
A lot of paper getting printed.
Could it be anybody? I think it's actually diesel-powered, so it takes about 10 minutes to warm up before it starts printing out. But all the talk leading into the season was that there was so much positive energy behind Willie Taggart and the FSU program, that he was saying all the right things, he was doing all the right things, he was landing players, and everybody felt really good about FSU coming into the season, which sort of, I don't want to say it was the opposite, but it was a different feeling around the Florida program in that Mullen wasn't their first choice, and it wasn't a spectacular recruiting season, and so it was a different feeling, and now 2 months into the football season, and it's a complete reversal of fortunes, at least to this point of the season.
Yeah, no, it's surprising how well Dan Mullen has done with the Florida team, and just as surprising how incompetent the Florida State team is.
Right.
You're talking about a team that played horrible against a Syracuse team, who, yes, is in the top 25, but it's not like Syracuse is a world beater. And then, of course, this past Saturday against Clemson, they looked lost. After the first quarter, right? That's the only quarter in which I think they actually played well. And then, you know what? Sayonara. But I was really busy tailgating, so I didn't get to see him do that play.
Well, and it's fair to say that the cupboard was a lot more bare in Tallahassee than what Dan Mullen took on at Florida.
But that's not what we thought at all because of the quarterback situation. They've got DeAndre Francois and they've got James Blackman. They have two good options. Yeah. Meanwhile, Florida, it looked like, had no good options with Felipe Franks, Kyle Trask, and Emory Jones. Now you talk about completely different situations. And I know the offensive line has struggled, but that is not a reason that they should lose a game 49-10.
And like you said, regardless of talent, when players start quitting in the middle of games, and it was pretty evident that guys weren't really going all out in that Clemson game towards the end, that's an indictment on the coaching staff. And now it's interesting to see how Willie responds to this. He responded in the postgame very aggressively. Coaches don't usually use the word quit when they talk about their players. So that Willie Taggart came out and said, guys, quit. We'll see Saturday against NC State. That's a big test. And we know how important it is for FSU to keep that bowl streak alive. So we'll see who it was that he views as quitters on his team and what changes are made on that roster Saturday against NC State. It's a tough 4-game stretch for Florida State. They've got NC State. They've got Boston College coming in.
They've got NC State, Notre Dame,
and Florida.
And Boston College. Yeah.
These last 4 games are tough, and they've got to win 2 of them to get bowl eligible. So the streak is severely in jeopardy.
Yeah, no, I don't see how Florida State beats Notre Dame, right? So I don't see how Florida State right now beats Florida. And so maybe NC State, maybe BC.
Yeah.
It's possible that they can get to the bowl.
Now, BC's coming to Tallahassee, so that's an edge for Florida State, but they just, and that's not for a few weeks, but they just beat Miami at home, and so it's not like BC's a layup. by any stretch. Or NC State. All 4 of these games are tough for Florida State with where they're at right now. I mean, the bowl streak is in significant jeopardy. Then there's we didn't talk a lot because of the Jaguars. We didn't get a chance to talk a lot of Florida Georgia on the show today, and it wasn't some conspiracy to not give Georgia their props. I mean, it's all richly deserved. Georgia came out won the game, played great. Jake Fromm significantly outplayed Felipe Franks, and I think that's we talked about that on the show too. I think that's the major difference in the game, right?
Well, and I think Kirby Smart did an excellent job of realizing what they did wrong against LSU and then putting his guys in winnable matchups. And yes, Florida's secondary has been decimated so far this season, but that's only one area. I mean, Isaac Nada, the tight end for Georgia, just destroyed Florida. And if you really do pick apart Jake Fromm, the previous few games, not nearly as good as he was on Saturday.
Right.
And if you play turnover-free football, a lot of times you're going to win the football game when the other team doesn't.
And that game may have, not saying Georgia still doesn't win the game because they executed, they were better across the board, but I feel like it's a different game if Franks hits that deep pass early in the game.
Oh, absolutely.
That was 6 points. It would have changed the atmosphere within the stadium, would have changed the nature of the game. Georgia, I think, still beginning to end, executed better, played better, probably would have still won the game. It would have been a different game, though.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, they're making the best they can at Florida, but Felipe Franks obviously is a rung below Jake Fromm.
Sure, but that's why what Mullen's done with this team has been so outstanding.
It's very impressive. Very impressive.
Other than the loss to Kentucky, this team I think has played great football. Yes, Saturday's loss was turnover, mess ups and stuff like that. Too many errors in the football game. But overall, he's had his team playing really good football and really getting up in those big moments that they need to, coming back from a 21-3 deficit against Vanderbilt. So he's done an excellent job with this football team. But more so even than the game itself, Florida, Georgia, perfect weather.
Oh my goodness.
I got to talk to so many different Georgia fans, Florida fans.
Saturday.
It was such a great day for Jacksonville and our city. Obviously, there was an incident after the game that is, an unfortunate thing. But overall, I would say we had College Game Day, we had SEC Nation, so lots of people I knew got to go to both, and it was just so much fun.
It was great. Now, I obviously wasn't down at Florida Georgia tailgating. I played golf Saturday.
Okay.
With our guy
I bet
Mike
the golf courses were empty.
It was awesome because there was nobody there.
Right.
It was glorious. Nobody behind us, nobody in front of us.
I felt
like I was golfing in the end of the world. There was just nobody there.
I like it.
Just me.
We came off the Matthews Bridge, and we were about to head into the parking lot, and we actually sat in a few minutes traffic, and this was at 8:30 Saturday morning.
Yeah.
And usually we get there a little earlier, like at 8. And there's no traffic then, so just that 30-minute difference, I was surprised there was already traffic. And
people get after it early.
It is, it's astounding the difference. Not saying people don't do a good enough job tailgating for Jaguars games, but it's astounding the difference when you have so many people that aren't going into a game who just show up to.
That's different.
Yeah,
it's like Mardi Gras. They just show up there to party.
Oh, absolutely. There are some people. Honestly, I only see them once a year, and it's on Florida, Georgia. It is by far one of the most fun days of the year.
It's awesome. And
what about the World Series for you, by the way?
Did they play that? Is that over?
It's done.
I hate both those teams so much, but I hate Boston less. So good for them.
I think as a I'm going to say casual baseball fan, as far as professionally goes, I think it's incredibly frustrating that the teams who can pay the most typically win.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, baseball stands alone in that it's of the major sports leagues, it's the only one without a salary cap, and that dictates the level of performance and success that teams can have. And if you're a small market team, you have to hope for one of those years like Kansas City had, like Oakland has had in the past, where you flare up and you make a deep run, and because you don't have the deep pockets. But the problem with those teams is they flare up and they come right back down to earth. To stay up and stay competitive, you've got to spend money. And most of the teams don't have the money to spend, and it's unfortunate. I think baseball would be very different with a salary cap. As a fan of one of the teams with the deep pockets, I am a fan of the no salary cap. Please spend away. It's not my money. Spend it like crazy. There's this cat Bryce Harper who's going to be available here in about a week, and let's go ahead and spend like crazy on him. But yeah, it's a very different animal being a baseball fan, and I feel for fans in these small markets because it's rough.
Yeah,
it's kind of rough.
How would Harper change the Cubs?
Seismic, because, and it's not just the presence in the lineup. He's a good defender. but it changes the whole dynamic as you add, and it's an indication to the rest of the league and to your fans that you're not being complacent. And that was the big complaint as a Cubs fan that a lot of Cubs fans had, that as far as on the offensive side of the ball, they felt complacent. They felt satisfied with what they had and that they were going to have a good year. And they were hitting well until Bryant got hurt. But to address that, to identify that as an issue and go out and address it in the offseason in a substantial fashion with a guy like Bryce Harper would be a major message to your team. And, it probably would be the start of some other shakeups that would trickle down. A guy like Kyle Schwarber probably on the way out, probably going to be a trade chip to try and get some help, either a starter or some help for the bullpen. And I think that's the right move. I know Scott Boras, who is Bryce Harper's agent, agent du jour. He's like the super agent to everyone. He's also Chris Bryant's agent, for what it's worth. Did an interview with the Yes Network, which is the Yankees network, and he told them that Harper already knows where he's going and that the deal is already done, which, unless it's Washington, that sounds awfully fishy because we're not in a window where you can negotiate with teams yet.
Right.
So it's a little weird, but, there's been a lot of smoke and linking Harper to the Cubs because his best friend is Chris Bryant. They're both guys from Las Vegas. They grew up together. Their wives still pal around. They pal around. Harper has been, if he's trolling, he's doing a masterclass in trolling right now, because on social media he's giving every possible clue he can, unless I'm just reading the tea leaves way too aggressively. But he posted up at a Blackhawks game in Vegas and posted that up on his social. He ran into some fans and he's wearing a Bulls hat. He's posted up a picture of the Wrigley Field marquee with the result after the Game 5 where the Nats had lost to the Cubs a couple years ago in the playoffs, and he's like, "It'll be great to be back there." It's like all this stuff. It seems like he's tipping his hand.
Usually it proves true,
but
we saw that with Allen Robinson. He had a picture with a Cubs hat.
Yeah, we'll see. I'd love to have him, but look, man, if he's on the Yes Network, that's also a little bit of a people are looking at that and saying, well, you're on the Yankees Network saying the deal's done, but you don't want to let it out of the cat out of the bag. Bryce wants to tell you personally, and you're telling that to the guy on the Yankees Network. So that's a little suspicious as well. I don't know. We'll see. Hot stove. Bryce Harper and Manny Machado. Those are two massive players who are going to be available, and there may be a third name. 3 days. The clock is ticking now. Clayton Kershaw has a decision to make. He can opt in for 2 years in LA, or he can opt out and hit the free agent marketplace and try to cash in. If he opts out, he's leaving about $65 million on the table. But in baseball, those contracts are guaranteed. So he's probably thinking he can get a 5-year, $200 million contract from somebody, and 200 is better than 65. So
yeah, we'll see.
It's a crazy game.
I like when guys stay with their teams. I've never liked.
I do too, and I think
jumping ship.
I think Kershaw will ultimately stay with the Dodgers, and he'll be a lifelong Dodger. But he's making the business move to opt out and then re-sign and get more money. It's the smart play.
Sometimes if you stop and think about the money these guys get, especially the baseball guys, the fact that it's guaranteed, it's insane.
And I think if you put Vegas odds on Bryce Harper, I think probably the betting favorite would probably still be that he stays in Washington. But if he does leave, then it gets crazy. And I would expect Manny Machado to remain with the Dodgers. They've got the deep pockets. He clearly boosted them in this run to the World Series. And they've got to do something, because they've now lost back-to-back World Series titles. They haven't won a title since 1988. They spend like crazy trying to get one.
Right.
And so they're getting desperate in L.A., and they got trolled by the Texas Rangers on Twitter after the game that the Rangers announced where the back-to-back World Series Losers Club gathers for fellowship and camaraderie. That's a shout-out to our guy, Hacker. Happy birthday, Hacker! I don't know how old you are, but whatever it is in mouse ears, that's how old you are.
Happy birthday, Hacker. Today's his birthday?
Today is Hacker's birthday. Ryan the Hacker Green.
Happy birthday, Hack.
I'm sure he's at Disney celebrating, because where in the hell else would he be? But, so happy birthday, Hacker. Hopefully happy Bryce Harper Day to me in a few days. Hopefully it's a happy bye week for you guys. It's the 1 week the Jags can't lose. And we'll be back tomorrow. Maybe Juju will be back.
Hopefully he feels better.
He's soft as Charmin. Sad sack little boy. Come back to us, Drew. We miss you. Love you, Googans. For Lauren Brooks, I'm Beef. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye!